Hi, and welcome to Module 2 of Saving You Money's in-person presentation. Now, before you actually start the presentation, there's something that you have to do that's extremely important. And that is, when this appointment was booked, either by you or by somebody else, that prospect was asked if he would be able to tell us yes or no today while you're there. And obviously he said yes, or you wouldn't be there right now. So time has passed. He's been busy and he's forgotten that he's made you this promise. You have to ask him if he can still keep that promise. Okay, you gotta start with, Bob, this is only going to take me a few minutes to walk you through this. Before I start, just a quick reminder. When you and I spoke on the phone the other day and we booked this appointment, I asked you if you were the person that could tell me yes or no today while I'm here. Can you still do that for me? If he says yes, continue. If he says no, find out why. Maybe there's a partner that he thought would be here at the time, but isn't. Maybe he's just got cold feet. Maybe something's happened to affect his budget since you last talked to him. But if he can't tell you yes or no, don't waste your time going through the presentation. It sounds harsh, but you're going to show this to him. Even when if he says no, I can't tell you yes or no, and you go ahead, well, I'm here anyway, I'll show it to you. At the end, all you've done is practice. You haven't made any money because he's just not committed to saying yes or no. So you're going to show it to him. He's going to thank you for your time, and you're going to walk away feeling deflated. Don't do that to yourself. Start the presentation reminding him that he has promised you a yes or a no. Either way is okay. Bob, tell me yes or tell me no. Either way is okay. Just please don't say I need to think about it. Another way of putting it is, Bob, if you don't like it, please, just like we said on the phone, please just be honest with me. Tell me no while I'm here. At least I'll know where I stand. So once he's agreed to tell you yes or no, and only then do you start your presentation. So here we go. Bob, the first thing I'd like you to do is open up your internet. And once you've done that, I'd like you to go to www.alexa.com. And up here on the top, you see where it says Top Sites. Click on that for me. Now, do you know who Alexa is? Have you ever heard of them before? 99% of the time, they'll say no, they've never heard of Alexa. So, Bob, I'd like you to scroll down, all the way down the bottom of the page. Do you recognize this name? Amazon.com. 99% of the time, they will. The reason I'm showing you that this is part of the Amazon group of companies is because I don't want you thinking that this is something I put together to make you think we look good. Okay, so go back to the top of the page. Now, the reason that Amazon bought Alexa is because Alexa is the company that monitors the traffic that goes across the internet. They watch to see which websites people are going to and how often they go there, and then they rank them. Who's getting the most traffic to who's getting the least traffic. And they're monitoring 860 million websites. Okay, they figure there's about 2.2 billion websites, but there's so many that don't get enough traffic that, well, if you don't get enough traffic, these guys don't even pick you up on the radar. Okay. So what they're showing you here is that Google is the #1 busiest website in the world. Facebook's #2, then YouTube and Yahoo, and down and down and down and down it goes. And the reason I brought you here, Bob, is I'm going to show you where we rank. Because if I'm going to ask you to spend money for us to promote you, then you want to know we're getting a lot of traffic or you're wasting your money. It would be like advertising in a little magazine that nobody reads. Okay? So up here where it says search for more, right there, I'd like you to type in our URL, our domain. It's saving, SAVING, letter U, money.ca. So, what it's showing you here is that today we are the 4,600,000th most popular website in the world. If you take 4.6 million and divide it by 860 million, that puts us in the top 1% of the world. And Bob, being the top 1% of the world is a great thing. But here's the best thing about it. We're not a worldwide company. We're not even Canada-wide. We are a regional website. All of our traffic comes from, right now, within the GTA. If I can be in the top 1% of the world from a very small geographical area, that's got to tell you, Bob, that I'm getting a lot of traffic out of this area. Does that make sense? And guys, if you're nodding your head, they'll nod their head too. Okay. Any questions on this, Bob? Nope. Good. Now I'd like you to go to Google. I'd like you to do a search. I'd like you to type for coupons in Newmarket. All right. Now, do you see up here this first one? The background color is a little pinkish and it actually says ad. Well, they're at the top of the page on page 1, not because they've earned it, but because they're paying for it. Right? But from this point down, after you get out of the ads, Google puts those listings there for free. Now, before we go any further, let me ask you this. You know how Google decides who goes on page 1 or page 5 or page 500? The most common answer you'll get is, I think it's based on traffic. Well, Bob, you're pretty right. There's a lot of factors that Google uses, but traffic is the number one factor that they do use. And they break traffic into two parts. The first part is, does the website get a lot of traffic? Google figures out if they're getting a lot of traffic, there must be something of interest that brings people to the site. The second part, they put even more weight on, and that is, do they get a lot of repeat traffic? Because Google figures if they're getting people coming back over and over and over again, there must be something of value that brings them back. And Google's very strong on value. So, if you notice here that the number one website for coupons in this area is us. You've heard of Groupon, you've heard of WagJag, right? Yep. Okay. They're big companies, and overall, they get a lot more traffic than we do. But in this area, we get more traffic than them. Any questions on this? Typically, they say no. Well, Bob, the reason I wanted to show you the Amazon and the Google stuff first is, if I had just walked in your door and said to you that I'm getting 35 to 40,000 people a week coming to this website, you wouldn't know if I was embellishing or not. You wouldn't know if I was telling you the truth. But I can't fake being number one on Google. I can't fake Amazon saying that we're in the top 1% of the world. So the reason I wanted to show you this stuff is because if you've never heard of us, I wanted to show you that we are credible and that we're getting a lot of traffic. Any questions on that? Good. All right, let's click on that link and let's go to the site. All right, so here's the website. Now, when people click on this button right here, you see all these names that are flashing across the top? Well, it opens up another page and it gives them the most current, up-to-date flyers for all these big name grocery stores, big box stores, and department stores. I can tell you that a year and a half ago, none of these guys were on our site. None. Okay? But once we hit 25,000 people a week in traffic, they all bought in. It seems that 25,000 a week is their minimum. On the right-hand side, over here, you'll notice that there's a rotating banner ad. Every 5 seconds, it rotates to a local business. In the center, we have a big old sign-up form. Now, people can go in and get all the deals, coupons, discounts, bargains that they want, Bob. They don't have to sign up at all. They can go in and get all that stuff and it's free. The reason we ask them to sign up is so that they give us permission to send them your deals. Okay? I'll give you the advantage to that. When you go home at night and you look in your mailbox and there's all those flyers in there, what do you typically do with that stuff? You'll find that 90% of the business owners will tell you that they just throw it out. So what you're telling me, Bob, is that when you go home at night, all the money that that guy has spent to print it and distribute it and put it in your mailbox and everybody else's, Canada Post tells you that, well, if you get a 1 or 2% response, you've done well. So 98% of that money was wasted. Here, when someone says, please send us your deals, what they're saying is, I want to see the deals. Now, let me ask you something. Which is going to get you more response? Someone who throws your flyers out, or someone who says, at least I want to see it? All right, up here in this orange section, there are two ways people are going to find you. One is by shopping area or town, and the other is by category. Bob, we don't even have to talk about category. It's so straightforward. If someone wants to see just the restaurants or just the mechanics, that's all they're going to see. For now, I'm going to ask you to click on that drop down beside shopping area. I'm going to ask you to pick on town. Now that the page is loaded, I'm going to ask you to start scrolling down slowly. And there's two things you're going to notice. First is that, well, I have a wide variety of different types of businesses. The first one's for landscape suppliers. The second one's for music lessons and TVs and all kinds of electronics. And if you keep scrolling down, you're going to notice that I have a lot of advertisers on the site here, Bob. Now, let me show you why these ads work. Let's pick an ad here. Let's pick, dryer vents. Okay. Now there's an ad for someone to come in and clean the vents at the back of your dryer. Let me ask you this. In the next 2 weeks, Bob, are you planning on having a guy come in and clean out your dryer vent? 90% of the time they'll say no. So, what you're telling me is if you saw an ad for a guy to do dryer vents and you're not interested in having your dryer vent cleaned, there's no real reason for you to read that entire ad, is there? No. So, what that tells us is people don't come to the website to read every single ad. They'll come to the site and they'll start scrolling down. And the only time they click on an ad is when it's a product or a service that they can use. Okay? When it's an ad that they can use or a savings that they can use. So do me a favor, click on that ad. All right. So when someone clicks on your ad, two things happen. And the first one, as you can see, is it loads, it enlarges. Okay? Now it's easy to read. If there's any fine print, as there is on this one, you couldn't see it before when it was smaller. Now you can read it. Okay? The second thing that happens, and more importantly for you as the business owner, is whenever somebody clicks on your ad, we count that and report it to you in real time. You know exactly how many people purposely stopped and read your ad. You can't get that from a newspaper or a magazine. You can't get that from TV or radio, but here you know exactly how well your ad is working. Now, at the top of those blue buttons where it says print coupon, when somebody prints the coupon, we count that and report it to you as well. So we're tracking your advertising for you, Bob. And one of the really neat parts about that is, if you're getting a lot of people clicking on your ad, but very few people are actually printing it off, what that tells you is you had a lot of prospective customers there. You had a lot of potential, but your ad didn't motivate them to act on it. Change your ad. When you put an ad in a newspaper or magazine, and that you got to pay for it no matter what happens. If that ad doesn't bring enough bodies into your store, you've wasted money. Here, if this particular ad isn't bringing you enough bodies into your store, change the ad. You can change the ad as often as you want, and there's no charge for changing it. So by changing it, you're going to increase your odds of making money. You're not going to waste your money here. Okay? All right, let me finish off these blue buttons. Save and print later. That's pretty straightforward. Email the coupon. Well, if you've got a really good offer in here, people will email these coupons out. And Bob, I'm always amazed at how many of these coupons get mailed out to their friends. Okay? So now it's not just the 35 or 40,000 people a week that come to the site. It's how good is your offer to make them want to send it to their friends. Bob, do you have a website? Guys, this could be a lead for another sale here at a later date. But if he says yes, all right, he's got a website, great. And this would be a link to your website, help increase the traffic and move you up on Google's rankings. If you don't have a website, well, we can help you with that. We'll talk about that later. Over here, it opens up a map. And it shows people, all those customers that have never been to your store before, shows you where you are. Shows you them where you are. That's it, Bob. That's the presentation. Any questions on how this works? And typically at this point, guys, they're going to ask you how much is it. They may ask various questions. There really aren't a whole lot of questions you'll get if you've kept control of your presentation. So from here, we'll go to Module 3, and we'll talk about the closing scenarios.